Welcome to the Exit Strategy, your no bullshit guide to divorce with the experienced attorneys from New Direction Family Law. Unfiltered discussions to help you move from victim to victorious and from bitter to better.
Good day. My name is Sarah Hink. I'm one of the experienced attorneys of New Direction Family Law and one of the partners. I am missing today my law partner, Elizabeth Stevenson, whose voice you usually hear on here with me. But we have Jen Bordeaux in the podcast studio today, who is often, well, you're always with us.
Yes.
Sometimes
I pipe in every once in a while.
Then when me and Elizabeth are busy out doing trial prep or in trial, then we have more Jen, which is great because everyone loves some Jen.
I don't know. Jen doesn't love some Jen sometimes, but good day. I like how you started that with
Yes,
British. Good day.
We are recording from England. Jen's accent's much better than mine. I cannot do one.
We are not British, but we sometimes get like spam. This is completely off topic, but like spam emails that start off like greetings of the day or good day. And I'm like, yeah, spam. All right.
Yeah, spam.
But I do appreciate the pleasantries.
Yes.
But what's not so pleasant sometimes is what we're going to talk about today. And something recently in North Carolina. We are in the thick of March Madness here in North Carolina. Go NCAA basketball. Woo!
Yes. NC State is in the Sweet 16 along with other triangle teams, UNC, Duke.
All of them.
Yes.
So all you triangle fans out there listening, go us.
Go us. All this is probably going to come out, and one of those or three of those teams might not be in it anymore.
Fair enough. But right now they are, and that's all that matters. But in line with that, something else happened during March this year, in that sports betting was officially legal and gambling in North Carolina effective March 11th of this year. So
online sports betting.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I guess that means you can't, there's not like casinos around the corner and whatnot. But there's a lot of online gambling platforms out there, mostly centered around sports. I haven't dabbled in it yet, so I don't know too much, but I get the gist. And like FanDuel or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's lots of ways to like bet on games, kickoff, who's going to win the coin flip, football, that's obviously not basketball related. Basketball, who gets the tip off, I guess. So that's now legal in North Carolina, which can be a lot of fun for some people, but it's also going to be problematic for others.
Yeah, there's definitely some addiction piece. Addiction looks and comes in many, many forms.
Right.
And gambling is absolutely one of those. You always hear with like the lottery or gambling, about, gambling hotlines and things like that. So it is absolutely a vice. It can, like you said, it can be great and be a lot of fun and generate sportsmanship and, friendly competition, but it can absolutely be addictive. And we've seen it not play out so well and negatively affect relationships, which brings in us. Sarah, how have you seen that in your cases?
Well, first of all, there's a addiction aspect, which takes many forms. But second of all, this also encompasses, financial issues and finances alone. Before gambling even became online gambling became legal and capable in North Carolina, when some spouse is out there overspending or just not being smart with their money, attempting to day trade and not making good decisions on the stock market, losing all the finances of the family. That's problematic and really stresses out a relationship. I see it even more than affairs. Everyone always asks, like, what's the main reason for a divorce? Well, a lot of times it's the financial issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So how is that, do people, when potential clients, then become clients and they're working with you, or even in initial consultation potentially, do you see where they have a suspicion of gambling, or they know how they have hard evidence of gambling? Or is it like, I don't know where this money's going or how we're in this financial situation and it's uncovered later?
Both, right? Because some people will travel to Las Vegas and obviously there's gambling going on there and lose a lot of money. But there's those marriages where people do not share financial information. There's someone that has complete control, and maybe there's not a joint account set up, or if there is, one person that's earning a substantial amount of money in the relationship puts some money into the joint account, but not all their money. And the other spouse is completely in the dark. And that's why it's really important to have those conversations. If you don't have a joint account, and don't see all the money spending, hey, what's going on? Let's talk about this. I have, some questions. I saw you on the couch all weekend on your phone. And if someone's online gambling, they're probably going to be making noises while they watch sports, right? Like, oh, damn it, missed it again. But I was like actually just picking up lunch the other day downtown, and I heard some guy on his cell phone being like, oh, I just laid on the couch and, gambled all weekend. Like literally said that. I'm like, whoa, his girlfriend, wife, if he has one, is not going to like that.
Nope.
So, there's little signs here and there, but if it's a real issue, just like with alcoholics or drug users, they're going to try and hide it. Mm-hmm. So you really got to be cognizant about what's going on. And like, if you see some mail come in that is from a bank or an account you didn't know about. Okay, well, what's this about? Open it. So it's at your house, you can open it. And just have those open conversations. And if you don't feel comfortable having an open conversation about finances in your relationship, well, that's a red flag in and of itself. It needs to change.
Absolutely. And we've talked about that from like the prenup aspect of like, it opens up these conversations. But beyond that, getting into the marriage, then those are ongoing conversations to have because people change, behaviors change, things like that. And it's still, we've been on this platform and every day in the office, we are huge advocates of, financial literacy and knowing what's going on with your finances. But we see it pretty much every single day that, folks see from the time at initial consultation, we ask about, I don't, you guys do as the attorney, ask about, the person coming to us in the opposing party about their income. And there's so many times that the party that's seeing us, they have no idea, that's never been disclosed. And it's hard for me to wrap my mind around because we are such big proponents of make sure you know, but it is so common these days.
Ask about a credit, number because nowadays your bank or your credit card's going to like have a way to show you. Mm-hmm. It's not like you have to like go run one yourself and like get points on it or what have you. Like ask about it. What's your, credit score right now, honey? Let's get that up. Like what if we wanted to buy a new house together? It's going to come out then. So just things like that. You got to be able to talk about it. And I understand a lot of people these days don't necessarily put all their money into one account. And there's pros and cons for that. Me and Jamie, my husband, we have one little account for like the kids stuff, but otherwise it's all separate. But you got to be able to talk about spending habits and things you do together versus what are you going to do with your income. This have to be open conversations. And so when it comes to these vices, it's not just going to be gambling that you'll see on credit card statements or bank accounts. If someone's obviously taking out a lot of cash, where are they spending their cash? That's the hardest one to really pin down. We were talking before we started about someone that called and said there's been, their spouse seeking sexual intercourse online, hooker. I don't know how to, ladies, men, or that's obviously in some places.
Paid sex favors.
Yeah. And not to diminish that work. Sex work is work, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's not something that you're in agreement of, obviously, either. So that's going to be a problem. And you see cash coming out. They don't pay for a sex worker via credit card, typically. So you're going to be really hard to really track that down and prove it. But anything like that comes out in the divorce situation through the financial end on, equitable distribution. If there's a credit card statement and there's $20,000 on that balance and 50% of that is from online gambling, well, okay, we were not okay with that spending. That spending for online gambling was not for the benefit of the family. Let's carve that out. I don't want to have to pay 50% of that debt,
Yeah.
So there are ways to get around that through the separation and divorce process when you're doing the financials. Same for, spousal support. We look at regularly occurring expenses when determining someone's ability to pay spousal support. Well, spending $3,000 a month on online gambling, that's not going to be okay in the court's eyes. So you need to pay $3,000 to your wife or your husband, your ex, before you start online gambling with your money.
Yeah.
So it is taken into consideration, but a lot of times you get into a hole that's really hard to dig yourself out of.
Hey guys, it's Jen with New Direction Family Law. And if you yourself have been through a divorce or you know someone that's contemplating a divorce, then you know how important it is to make sure that you know your legal rights or your friend knows their legal rights and options to help develop the best plan for them and their family moving forward. At New Direction Family Law, we have over 30 years of combined experience protecting the rights of our clients in family law matters. We aggressively advocate, we aggressively support, and we absolutely educate our clients to achieve the best possible outcomes. So if you or someone you know are facing these questions or contemplating separation or divorce, give us a call to schedule an initial consultation today. You can reach us at 919-719-3470 or reach out to us via our website at newdirectionfamilylaw.com. I know that we've had other scenarios where I think one spouse, like they see the detriment or like the money that's going out, but they don't know where it's going. And I've seen instances there where then the non-spending spouse will say, or non-gambling spouse, whatever, will kind of bail them out. But it's getting so bad to where it's like affecting, like the mortgage isn't being paid. And like any other addiction, you're putting other things above these other responsibilities and necessities. And the spouse that came to us, had been bailing out the spending spouse for a while now, and wanted to the point where the attorney was like, I almost think they have a whole separate life, like just given what information was presented in the consultation. So it can I don't know, like you said, it can just snowball so quickly.
It does snowball, and people lie. Your spouse may going to lie to you. If they haven't already, they might in the future, even if it's a good relationship. And especially when it comes to issues like gambling, I online gamble, but it's not a problem. And then they'll start like hiding it from you and not watching the games in front of you or whatever. But if they're on their phone and reacting, then you could know something then. But it does present itself as an addiction to some degree. I mean, just with like alcohol, drugs, it can just get out of hand. So it's something for everyone in North Carolina to watch out for.
Yeah. And so if somebody comes to you when they're suspecting this, or as, we get into in depth with the financials and there may be, you can't 100% pinpoint, but like, how do you start to try to go down that tunnel to figure out what's happening to this money you're spending to be able to identify it, that it is gambling that was not to the benefit of the marriage?
Yeah. Well, at that point in time, we need to, get the financials and get the statements. If we're in court, we have subpoena power, issue discovery to get our hands on all those statements. And you have to really go through them because maybe they have an account you don't know about. So are you seeing the bank account paying for a Chase card and you didn't know there was a Chase credit card and I didn't give you those statements? What's that about? But also, if there's a Chase credit card out there with $30,000 on the balance and they don't present it, well, then they're not going to get equitable distribution of it either. And they're going to have to take that debt and pay it for themselves. So it's definitely just taking the time to look through everything at that point. If you're still in the relationship, then obviously up to that person to decide if they want to separate and go down the course of the separation and divorce and all that. But ask them about it, look at it. If you want to stay in your relationship, but the other person's gambling a lot, then you can look at it like a post-nup, like we've talked about before, and establishing like, okay, if you're going to online gamble, then your stuff is going to be your separate stuff and my stuff's going to be my separate stuff. And I'm not ever going to be liable for your gambling habit. And otherwise, we still love each other. Great. We can help you there.
Yeah, definitely both those avenues. And you mentioned earlier sending out discovery. Can you break that down to layman's terms for those of us that may not know what that means?
Discovery is, questions on paper. It's written questions, written answers. They come in 3 different forms. One basically asks for documents, provide all your credit card statements since January 1st, 2022 to present, and they have to give it over to us basically. And some of them are written questions, how many times have you online gambled in the last 3 months? Give me a date, time, and what platform, I guess. Another one's like, ones you either answer in the affirmative or you say no to, and like admit that you spent $30,000 on online gambling in the year of 2023. Like, okay, admitted or something like that. So.
And so what is if I'm trying to ask questions like I don't know anything about.
Yes.
So if somebody comes in for initial consultation and they retain, and so do you just automatically send that out, or does something have to be initiated in court? Like how does that happen to do this discovery?
You can only do discovery and issue subpoenas if you're in court. If there's been litigation filed, someone's filed a complaint. Otherwise, if we're trying to negotiate a separation agreement and there's nothing filed in court, then it's all, hey, will you please give me this stuff? And they have to attempt to negotiate and give those documents in good faith. And if it gets to the point where they won't give you things and you really need them, then you have to go to court, unfortunately, to really get that power.
Yeah. So it can get pretty sticky and pretty messy and stressful and expensive.
Yes, it does. And it's always like a benefit cost analysis of, what statement do we think we're missing? Do we think anything is out there? Are they actually going to participate in this process? We don't want to spend months and money on attorneys for it to go nowhere, just to end up in court. So sometimes you just got to pull the trigger and just go ahead and getting into litigation, but that doesn't mean you can't settle.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess anything else around that? What if you have somebody that comes in to you and they are the one that has been gambling? They are the spouse that has been gambling. How would you potentially approach that?
What point is it at? Is it an addiction? Then just like someone who comes to me that has an alcohol problem, I'm like, you need to see help. I'm sure there's therapists out there who deal with financial addiction, gambling addiction. I mean, I'm going to want my client to seek help. If we go to court, they're going to want to see that too. If you have kids, they're going to be concerned if you're just sitting on the couch or in your computer room all day, gambling and being stressed out and not interacting with your children. I mean, that's going to take some kind of form and perhaps interrupt custody. So that's something to think about as well. And just really try to help this person, because if it's a problem in their marriage, it's going to be a problem regardless if the marriage disappears. Also, something to think about is that the court might, now that it's legal, what's the court going to assess as reasonable? Like $30 a week or so online gambling? Okay, maybe that's okay. Just like if you're going out to a bar, or I see on like people's statements, ABC store purchases. Oh, I like to have some bourbon and I have a bourbon purchase every couple of weeks. Okay, fine. And what's that threshold to really cross over what's abusing the financials in the marriage?
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
That will be. I mean, TBD on that, right?
TBD
we haven't
on that.
faced it here in North Carolina yet. So, and then obviously, I would imagine with those on both sides, whether it's the spending spouse or the non-spending spouse, there's some, well, really in any cases, right? There's a hard conversation going to be had, right? Because you guys are, obviously, we're always going to be honest with our clients. We're not going to tell you what you want to hear. We're going to tell you what you need to hear. And sometimes it's not what you want to hear.
No, a lot of times it's not what you want to hear.
Yeah. So having those hard conversations coming from a place of, if you are the gambler, getting help if it is addiction level, being honest about what you're potentially looking at, like you said, as a parent, if it's affecting it, financials, how you might just be on the hook for this. Like this is, if you're looking at the distributive award or however all that works, that this is all going to be yours.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you have knowledge of it and you are okay with it, or at least seem okay with it for, a year, then you can't claim at that point, hey, I want it backed out. I don't want to have to pay for his gambling debt. If you actively participated in or seem to support it or know about it, So that's going to be hard to really put that up as a defense as well.
Mm-hmm. But regardless, it's very important to find out, right? No matter what side you're on, it's very important to know what your financial picture looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And then should you find yourself in a potential separation situation, maybe inquire about a post-nup or what this looks like should you get divorced.
Right.
And then furthermore, if it does start heading down the separation divorce path, to absolutely find out what this looks like for you.
And if you are just not knowledgeable on finances in general, that's just a world that you are not a part of, then there's therapists and counselors out there to, counsel you on your financials. And I'm seeing it more and more, especially for women, to have someone help them through the process of understanding bank accounts and retirement accounts and, all of these different investment accounts you can do, because that's just not something that was really taught to women in the past.
Yeah. And financial control and financial abuse is a real thing. It's just a different version of control and abuse or domestic abuse. It doesn't have to be violence. Financial piece of it really sometimes can be the biggest constrainer of leaving a very toxic, unhealthy relationship because of those financial constraints. So we always say knowledge is power, and that 1,000% applies to the financial piece of it.
Yeah, and this gambling could have a big impact. I do expect to see more separations because of gambling issues in our area.
And we get it. It can be fun. We've been in an all-girl fantasy football league together. We've got brackets going in the office.
I want to win my money. Yes, my bracket. And with my friend bracket that's been going on for, 20 years at this point, my $15 I put on it every year.
Yeah. So it can definitely be fun, friendly, competitive. But it can be dangerous too. It can be scary.
Yes. Ain't that some?
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave us a review. You can visit us at newdirectionfamilylaw.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at the exitstrategy_podcast or email us at exitstrategy@newdirectionfamilylaw.com. We'll be back next time with more no bullshit content about life, divorce, parenting, relationships, and everything in between.